What's going on, people? We have not done an episode of, if you will, footy talks or anything in a while, but after today and the kind of news we've been getting since this morning, we just thought we kind of have to come in and share a few thoughts here and there. So I'm here with Sam, and we're just going to talk a little bit about, two main topics really, in terms of Pepe's ban and not Pepe's ban, but Pepe's racial abuse. Well, it is a ban anyway because he did get a red card, so yeah, he is banned. But, we're going to be talking about that for a little bit, and then we might go into another topic of the CAF president being handed a 5-year ban a little bit later on. But first of all, Sam, how are you feeling this morning after yesterday's game? Of course, we did the podcast yesterday, and obviously we could see how down you were feeling.
I think I let everything off my chest yesterday, innit? Surprisingly, I wasn't too hard on them, but yeah, man, it's demotivating. It's demotivating because obviously on paper you expect a team like Arsenal to put away leads, especially with some of the chances that we got yesterday. But even despite our chances and despite the Pepe red card that we're about to get into, we didn't deserve to get the W yesterday. And it doesn't give me much confidence because you can say what you want about Leeds, they're newly promoted, and they're doing well, but our team like Arsenal on paper should really be putting them away. And come away from the game and they had 24 attempts on goal. Come on, man. Yeah. Come on, that doesn't give me much confidence at all, especially at the fact that we supposedly improved the defense. We had one of the best attacks in the league, and neither side is producing. So,
I have to agree. I have to agree in the sense that I think, as I mentioned yesterday, watching yesterday's game, it was literally, I don't want to say this, but it reminded me a little bit of Emery's time before he left. Like, it was not, there wasn't really much innovation in the team. Chances-wise, I can't lie to you. All right, we created a couple of clear-cut chances, but it reminded me a little bit of Unai Emery and his time just before he left as well. And it just like, things weren't working. We've been crying out to see Aubameyang up front for so long. Aubameyang up front, and changing the system as well, not playing through at the back against teams like teams that we could actually take the game to. And it kind of got into it, and it just didn't work. Aubameyang ended up he just kept walking up and down. He had a couple of chances that personally I think everyone probably thought that he should have done better with. But yeah, the team yesterday, I think the guys did let Arteta down a little bit, but I think Arteta's let himself down a little bit as well. In the sense of, he's been great since he's come in, don't get me wrong, and I'm not an Arteta out. I'm not saying, Arteta should leave now. But I think he's let himself down a little bit in terms of, what we can actually do in the middle of the park. Yesterday, when we were watching the game, I was telling my brother, that this game we're losing this game in the middle of the pitch. Like, that's where it's being lost at the moment. Our attack is, we've got players that can hurt people. Our defense, we've stabilized it somewhat. But in the middle of that park where, a lot of the magic really should be happening in terms of transitioning is where we were losing the game yesterday. And it was evident to see that, there's just literally zero level of creativity in that team. And I mentioned yesterday, as young as Joe Willock is, I don't think we should be heaping that amount of pressure to say, all right, yeah, you are a creative midfielder now. And I feel like Arteta's let himself down. Yeah. I feel like Arteta's let himself down. I feel like Arteta's put himself in a bit of a terrible spot, because I think about, what he said about Ozil being dropped for football reasons and all that kind of stuff. And I just, I think a lot of the time we all look at the situation and we're like, it can't be for football reasons. It's impossible. Like, we all know that. We can see that it's not for football reasons. And we all thought he was the type of manager, if, the board were doing something stupid or something crazy was going on, he would be the type of manager to actually let us know, like tell the fans, this is what's going on. I don't agree with it, but this is what's happening. It's between Ozil and the board. It's nothing to do with me, kind of thing. But he's now sitting there saying that, oh yeah, it's for football reasons. I think a lot of people might have lost a bit of respect for Arteta after he came out with that topic. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Arsenal's game. Well, we are, but we're not really here to talk about how poor they've been or how well they're playing. We're here to talk about, obviously, Nicolas Pepe and everything to do with that. But another story of racial abuse to add to the crazy number of stories in the world, really, that's been going on for years and years and years in the game of football now. And funny enough, yesterday, I think this morning after me and my brother looked at it, he came to me and he was like, did you see the way we reacted to Pepe's red card? Because as soon as Pepe got the red card, I mean, we were distraught as well. We were like, come on, what are you doing? Like, it's not, it's not right. Like, in that moment, something like this is like, he was more or less not coerced, but he was provoked and he took the bait, unfortunately. But we kind of had that feeling and we were angry at him. We weren't very happy with him, but we left it there. Like, football is a frustrating game. It happens. Someone got a red card. You're frustrated with them, but we left it there. But how do you feel about the fact that there's some people that always want to take things that little bit further? For what reason?
I can't lie. Some people really, really need to understand that. Yes, we love football and it's such a great sport and it's such a massive part of our lives. But come on, guys, man. Come on. It's not the end of the world if somebody does something like that. Like, the way people take it to heart, like they're going to lose their homes or someone, they really, really go hard on it. And waking up this morning and seeing that my club has to pull up a statement because there's been so much abuse. I didn't even know, guys, that before I didn't even know that there was racial abuse until Kirk told me before we jumped on this live. I didn't see any of the abuse. I saw some of it last night, but I didn't know it was to the extent of Arsenal having to tweet and Leeds United having to tweet that we don't commend the abuse that's been said online. Like, that's an absolute disgrace, especially coming from a club that is so diverse. We're the only Premier League team to field 9 black players in history, if not the first. Our fan base is so diverse. Our team is still very much diverse. So what does that even speak to the likes of, what does that even say to the likes of Aubameyang and Lacazette and Reece Nelson, Saka, and all these other black players playing for the team? Can they trust these fans not to do that kind of thing online when they make a mistake in a game? You got to understand, Stando, I'm not taking all the weight off Pepe. What he did was wrong, even though I believe the game's gone soft. And that, obviously, Alioski, in my opinion, did over-exaggerate the headbutt a little bit. But, that's the game nowadays. Do you know what I mean? You're not supposed to even put your head in like that. Unfortunately, that's the game. You have to get sent off. Any other player would. But at the same time, the guy, he's 25 years old. He still needs to kind of adapt to this league. There's obviously a little bit more arguments to that, but to spread racist abuse, and all this kind of stuff, it just sucks, especially because Pepe's in a position right now where he doesn't have any confidence. We have not seen potential at the team. Like, I genuinely only remember. Like, I think I can only genuinely pinpoint 2 moments since Pepe's arrived at Arsenal where I've literally seen him shine. And that was probably the 2 free kicks he scored in that Europa League game. And then that West Ham 3-1 when this was just after Emery got sacked, when Lumberg had to take over. Apart from that, there's not really been much going on. I mean, he's obviously done his thing in games, but there's not really been any great big moments. Obviously, he had that goal ruled out in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, there was that coming towards the end of the season last year. I think he was not so much firing, but he was playing a little bit better than we had seen him. But yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah, and he hasn't reached his full potential. And now you guys have gone out and done this to him. He's obviously going. You got to understand, he's still a young guy. He's going to go on his phone. He's going to go on social media. He's going to see all these things, And people are not going to want to play for a club that has a fan base like that. You do not want to play for a group of people and represent a group of people that are going to throw racist abuse at you just because now you are, you got sent off for a headbutt. I can understand where the frustration comes from, but people need to stop taking it too far. Like, Pepe came out earlier and he said, I'm not getting enough game time. I need enough game time. Arsenal fans backed him because we said he deserves a run of games. For him to then go and get a red card in like his first start since when in the Premier League, it kind of sucks. I can understand where the frustration comes from, but come on, guys, we don't need to take it as far as that. We have other players that can fill in that position, and let's just leave it at that. Like, we move on. We can't let football control our lives, and that's what's happening with these fans.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's something that even this pandemic would have shown a lot of people. I've seen the likes of different platforms sort of discussing the fact that they can't go to games as regularly as they did before. And a lot of people were devout fans. They wouldn't miss a game, home and away. They were there, kind of thing. And now it's kind of gotten to a point where it seems like they have sort of like come to the realization that actually maybe I don't really need to go to today's game, or as in like they're kind of thinking about it like when football returns. Of course, I'm sure a lot of fans are going to be flooding into the stadium to kind of get that feeling back. But there very well might be a state of pause and reflection and be like, do you know what? Actually, when I wasn't going to games, it wasn't really that big a deal for me. Like, we're starting to reach that point where it feels like football isn't taking charge of people's lives anymore. But then you have things like this going on. Now, Pepe as a player, as you said, I have to agree with everything you said. I think last season being his first season, obviously everyone kind of does pardon your first season, especially if you're trying to grow into a new league and all that kind of stuff. And I think we had to place that on him because of the price tag that was placed on him. Not his own fault. Pepe didn't put his valuation at 72 million and said buy me for 72 million. That's got nothing to do with him. He just performed the way he had to perform in the French league. Arsenal went out and then negotiated with Leo, and obviously that price tag got placed on him. It was imposed on him. He didn't decide to give himself that price tag. So there's a lot of pressure and all that kind of stuff coming from all ends of the spectrum, really, when it comes to the player himself. Now, yesterday, one thing that Felix did say to me, my brother said to me, that I have to agree. He said, do you not think that, even the state of headbutt, the state that he was in to even headbutt Alioski, that's the mark of a frustrated player right there. I think that's the mark of someone who is frustrated, probably with the game time, as he mentioned. He might be frustrated with the tactics and the way he's been having to play. A lot of the time, I've been saying that Pepe has been playing way too deeper in the line than he would like to be. Because a lot of the time, I say Pepe is a right winger, not a right mid. And just all aspects of everything. Maybe the Premier League in general is frustrating him. Home life might be frustrating. He might just be a genuine frustrated player. Like, you kind of have to think about it in a deeper way than to think that he just got provoked and he got angry and he headbutt, because he's probably been provoked many times during his time at Arsenal for the last year, but he hasn't gone out and headbutted anyone. He hasn't reacted in that way.
That time, even when he got sent off last night, he walked off so calmly. Like, it was even I wouldn't say there was a smirk on his face, but he didn't even look like really angry.
He didn't look like he was. Yeah, kind of and I'm sure he was disappointed in himself for letting the team down, but I think with the way he's going at the moment, it's showing the mark of someone who is extremely frustrated, someone who very well might not agree with everything that's going on in the team right now. And that might be, disciplinary wise, tactic wise, communication wise. He just might not agree, and it's showing that he is a very, very frustrated individual. Something that he has never really shown before in his time while he was at Arsenal. He's never really done that. So I think thinking about that, I can sort of pardon him a little bit, because I'm sure he is very, very frustrated, but I can pardon him, but I don't condone it. Obviously, you don't go off headbutting someone in the face or wherever he did. Although, yes, it was an exaggerated move, which everyone does nowadays. And unfortunately, that is how you play the game. When they say play the game and because at that point, Alioski actually awarded his team with an advantage. So he played the game, and unfortunately for Pepe, he won. But that is a mark of a frustrated player. Now, for me, my attack again, okay, not attack, sorry, that's the wrong word to use, but my thinking now has to go towards, places like authorities, the Premier League, and all that kind of stuff. One thing that is really, really starting to become very evident is that message that was there, that Black Lives Matter, taking of a knee at the beginning of every game and everything kind of thing. I don't know if anybody else has realized, but over time, that message has disappeared. At the beginning of the game, the commentators don't even mention what it's for. Like yesterday, they mentioned that it's for world equality. And I was thinking, what?
Yeah,
so this whole time, I heard the commentator say taking of a knee for world equality. And I'm like, what? So this whole time we've been taking a knee for people starving in different places in the world. What's it for? And I feel like they're so scared to say certain things. They're so scared to put certain messages across. But it's not really bringing the change. Like a lot of the time, I remember even when this whole thing started, my main argument was that, okay, that as they kind of mentioned, or as you can see, the ritualistic or the continuous taking of a knee at the beginning of a game to mark the Black Lives Matter movement. That's what they were saying at the very beginning of this whole thing, when this whole statement thing came out. And then I started to say to myself, okay, cool, they're taking a knee. Black Lives Matter movement. What is the Black Lives Matter movement? What is it? Like, can you explain it a little bit further? Maybe even while they kick off, maybe talk a little bit about what's going on. Talk a little bit about how you don't condone racism and all that kind of stuff. You as an individual using your voice and your platform at that moment to stand up for what is right. But obviously a lot of the time you kind of think about how people will perceive it, how people will take it. But I'm not saying that a commentator not saying what the Black Lives Matter movement is has perpetrated to people kind of coming out with racial abuse or anything. But it's more using your voice and using what you have in order to impose a level of change and where you can affect it. And at this present moment in time, my thinking has to be towards authorities and the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they don't condone racism, they don't condone prejudice and all that kind of stuff in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, cool. What are you doing about it? And I think that's my main standing point, because I don't know if you agree, but if they don't, if they continue the way they're going, it's probably going to carry on, no?
No, I definitely agree. But at the same time, I feel like there's only so much they can do in terms of the abuse that's happening online. I think it's up to the likes of Twitter and Facebook and these guys to step up to get rid of this kind of stuff, because people shouldn't be allowed to tweet certain terms. Do you see what I'm saying? The FA and the Premier League are already struggling to deal with racial abuse inside stadiums. Now they're having to deal with it online, where they can't even see people. They don't know where they live. They don't know where they're tweeting from. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why I say I feel like it's up to Twitter, Facebook, all these social media platforms to not allow people to tweet these things. There was a suggestion about a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago now, saying that people need to verify their accounts with their ID and their address and their numbers and stuff. Like, people shouldn't be allowed to get away with these kind of things. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot the FA and the Premier League can do about racism by players on the pitch and racism by fans in the stadium. But when it comes to online, it's really difficult for them to take charge of it. And if they don't cooperate with these social media platforms, I don't really know what's going to change.
It's true. And I think at the moment, one thing I've always said is, I don't know about you, obviously you've been using Twitter a lot longer than I have, but I've always said I really, really don't like how free Twitter is to just say whatever you want. You can literally just go on there and say anything, and it literally just doesn't matter. No one's going to do anything about it. Like no one, because they call it like a place to express yourself. It's your voice. It's your human right, I guess, to have freedom of expression and say what you please and all that kind of stuff. But my main thinking with that is, if you say what you please, then are you not inadvertently giving people a platform to push and perpetrate their own agenda forward to masses? Because let's not forget that kids use Twitter too. It's not just adults that use Twitter. There's probably, when I was a kid, I remember making my first Facebook account when I was like 11. And I just obviously just go and just use a fake birthday and cool, you're in, kind of thing. I'm not even sure if, obviously they've got all these restrictions on, you can put sort of like a content mark, so they don't show you certain content or anything, but that's literally a flick of the switch. You can turn it off and on in a matter of seconds. Like, it doesn't really take much doing. But no, I have to agree. I honestly think the amount of freedom that people have with social media, yes, it's a place to express yourself and it's a place to literally talk about whatever you want to talk about. But similarly to the way, you can't go out in public and express these views freely without actually facing some level of judgment, if you will, from people and all that kind of stuff. Why are we not seeing the same restrictions being placed on social media? Why are we not seeing the same, social media police, if you will, targeting and going to find these people and actually clamping down on this behavior? Not even going to find the people, but just putting certain barriers and things in place. Because honestly speaking, Twitter, as they're a big organization, Instagram, all these places, they're big organizations. If they wanted to place a block on certain words being used online, they could do it like that. they could do it easily. You can't send certain videos, you can't send certain you can't, you know, tweet certain things, you can't say certain words. But now the question has to come to why aren't they actually doing it? If it's that easy, why aren't they actually going forward and doing it?
Maybe
And that's the thing.
Maybe one thing could be it happens so much because it happens so much. They're like, they don't want to take charge of it, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying because people don't understand what racial abuse can do to a person. Fam. You know, I hope Pepe can bounce back from this, but he may never be the same again. Like people don't understand how much it can hurt, and like if these social media platforms don't start waking up and forget about this thing called freedom of speech and all this kind of crap that's defending racism. Nah. All of that stuff needs to get thrown out the window because now it's time to change things. Because how can this carry on, especially from your own fan base as well, fam? Like this is crazy. It's crazy, and this is I'm gonna say something quite controversial. This is why I kind of get upset when a lot of black players represent a lot of these European countries because, you know, for example, the likes of Mario Balotelli, it was getting racial abuse in Italy, and you still represent Italy at international level. Like for me, there is just it just doesn't correlate for me. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I can understand. Yeah, no, I fully back that.
I just can't see how that makes sense. You know, and honestly, like a lot of these fans will be racist to all these players, but once they put on the England shirt, they're all cheering their names. Go back to club, you're back to being racist again. It isn't fair, you know. How we need where black people have done so much already to break down barriers and to break down stereotypes, and these guys are just allowed to go online and say what they want. It's demotivating.
I have to agree. I think that's probably a very, very good comment that I hadn't actually fully grasped. The fact that you're more or less representing the same country that's literally abusing you. Like you put on the shirt, an England shirt, an Italy shirt, a shirt for the Dutch or Germany or any of these countries. You put on their shirt only for them to racially abuse you, like later on, put it in a different context, and they'll racially abuse you. And I think it's a great thing that you said about Mario Balotelli, because I know he's of Ghanaian descent. And as controversial as he has been as a character, you know, he has faced, I've seen, obviously we've all seen videos of him facing stuff like racial abuse and stuff in Italy, and he actually represents Italy and has represented Italy on countless occasions, putting on that national shirt and actually playing for that country. He's not even playing for the team, he's playing for that country, because he's representing them at that moment. And I think it's a giant middle finger to the face, if I'm honest with you, to actually do that to yourself. And that's why, like, you know, chasing national glory rather than, you know, having pride in where you actually came from in your heritage. That's how I put it anyway. Sounds controversial, I know, but for me that's kind of how I see it, because you chase you chase national glory rather than representing your heritage and you know where your blood is from, not where you physically are, but what kind of traces where you trace your lineage back to. And then that's the thing for me. But I kind of wanted to ask you a question as we sort of like move forward and maybe start veering away from Pepe a little bit. When do you think the next time you might see him on the Arsenal pitch or on a pitch playing for Arsenal again might be? Because obviously you got Arteta saying it's unacceptable. I can imagine the player right now himself is probably not even like he's probably not even remotely interested in football at the minute. So when do you think we could see him again? Do you think it'll be as soon as Thursday or?
Oh yeah, he is allowed to play Thursday, right?
Yeah, he can play UEFA games.
I don't think he'd play for Arsenal until that ban is done. If I'm honest, because even watching Arteta in that post match interview, and then the pundit is asking him about the red card, and he's basically giving blunt answers. Like he was like, "Yep, nope,
yeah,
yeah." You see what I'm saying? He does not look happy.
He doesn't look happy. Yeah,
and if you know if rumors are true and that Arteta's got a little bit of beef with Ozil, you know, you could see the way he's playing that he doesn't like. So Pepe is in for a big. I think a discussion obviously needs to be had after like a proper when all the emotions calm down and stuff,
Mm.
and then we'll see what happens. But I'll be honest, I don't think he's gonna be in a Europa League fixtures or a cup. He can't play cup because he's banned from that as well. But yeah, I don't think we'll be lucky to see him before the end of the year, man.
Yeah. It's kind of sad because I think it's reminiscent of what happened to Granit Xhaka. If you remember a few, like I don't know if it was a year or a couple of years back. It might have been last year actually. Flip. It actually feels like a while ago now. But yeah, it's reminiscent of that and how he fell out of favor all of a sudden, and you know he kind of turned it around in the end. So, but then again, we didn't really see him anywhere near the team for a while. So we have to wait and see what will happen with Pepe. And I really pray because I have so much love for the guy. I think he really can be the real deal. He can be amazing on that wing for Arsenal. And the thing I love about him is he knows where he plays. He knows what kind of player he is. He doesn't, want to play in the middle. He doesn't want to play as a central attacking mid. He knows he's a winger and he knows he can do the job on the wing. He just, whenever you put him on there, it's like he's always trying to stake his claim on that wing position, but it's just not working at the moment. And you just wish it would. You really wish it would. If you put the price tag away, just him as a person, he's just such a likable character as well. You wish he would. You wish it would work for him.
I think Arsenal might be under a little bit of pressure to get Pepe to his full potential because it's looking like if he doesn't reach his full potential, selling him in January or selling him next summer, he's going for 30 million. That's a 52 million pound loss. Arsenal are under pressure. They need to get this guy to play well so that if we do sell him at some point, we are not taking that much of a gap from what or of a profit loss. Do you know what I mean? That is crazy. Like I think Arsenal are definitely under pressure, man, and he's gonna feel it. When Pepe comes back, if Arteta gives him another chance, he's really got to put in a shift. But obviously, like you were saying, Pepe plays too deep. Maybe Arteta needs to look at his role and try and put him in a position. You talk to the players, ask them where they feel like they play best, and see whether he flourishes in that position. If it still doesn't work out, then he's gonna have to look at the exit door, man.
It's very unfortunate to even. I honestly think the game of football now is so reactionary in the sense that it just does not give you any room to even grow anymore. It's like you better come in and just be like a duck to water and just start flapping or you're finished. Like it's I think it's such an unforgiving sport. But yeah, with Pepe, I honestly hope first and foremost that those people that did this will be like reprimanded and something will actually happen rather than a slap on the wrist or maybe them not just giving up and just not finding them at all because it's terrible. As you said, Arsenal being such a multicultural, a team with numbers and numbers of people, like such a diverse fan base and such a diverse team as well. Having players from all around the world playing there, I think it would be very shameful. If those same people would perpetrate that exact same sort of action and the exact same feeling and all that rubbish towards other players in the team. So something definitely needs to be done there. But yeah, moving on to the second topic of what we're talking about, I think I'm going to hand this one over to you more because obviously you brought my attention. I did see it yesterday or something like that, but I'll be honest with you, when I saw it, my first my instant reaction was, why am I not surprised? That's literally what I said to myself.
Exactly the same as me, though. And then like 5 minutes later, I was just angry. And I'll tell you why. So guys, if you don't know the news by now, you should obviously see by the title, but the CAF president, Ahmed Ahmad, has been banned by FIFA for 5 years. Now I'm gonna read a little bit of the backstory on BBC Sport, yeah. It says the 60-year-old vice president of the world governing body FIFA had been found to have breached codes relating to duty of loyalty, offering and accepting gifts, abuse of position, and misappropriation of funds. Can I just say, that the reason why African football has not been able to progress, has not been able to grow, has not been able to get the top talents to play for these teams internationally is because of lack of funds. We've heard it for years. The lack of facilities, the lack of funds, the lack of this, the lack of that. And then you get guys like this the president, bro, the president is misusing funds.
It's not a surprise. I'm not surprised. I'm literally not surprised in the slightest. I'll be so honest with you. It didn't even like it didn't. I was just like, okay, like tell me something else that's new because this is I'll take your mind back to the 2014 World Cup. When this whole thing happened with Ghana. Obviously, as a lot of you may know, I am from Ghana. And I don't know if you guys remember in that tournament, in our last game, I think it was the last group because we didn't make it out of our group that year. Our last group game was against Portugal, I believe, and we didn't. After the I think it was the Germany game we played before the game against Portugal, we didn't feature Suleiman Tari or Kevin Prince Boateng, and that's the last time they played in a Ghana shirt. And it was to do with this very thing that we're talking about. Apparently, the money that was supposed to be paid to the players for representing their country at the time was used instead to fly some wives and girlfriends of some of the coaching staff into Brazil, for them to come and enjoy themselves. And Montari wasn't having any of it, and nor was Kevin Prince Boateng. And the reason why they were omitted from the squad was because they actually used physical abuse, which I don't condone, of course. They slapped and hit some of these officials, which I can understand their frustration, but I don't condone the physicality used there. But it's yeah, it is what it is. I'm sure a lot of people in that situation probably would have done the same thing because the logic behind it is literally ridiculous. But when it comes to African football, when it comes to the progression of African football, as you mentioned just now, it's this is the reason. This is the one of the things that not just African football as well. The sad part is that when it comes to Africa progressing as a country, corruption never really allows that to spearhead. It goes forward, it goes forward, but African development goes forward and then takes a few steps back because every single time, every sort of area down the line, you find that there's something corrupt going on in the background. So when I heard this, I'm like, bro, this is in our nature. It's been there for years. Not that it should continue, but it just is what it is, and it's sad.
Especially at the fact here that we had a very successful Africa Cup of Nations in 2019. It seemed like things were getting better. We're seeing the likes of, for example, Hala picking to play for Ivory Coast, like things like that. Show that it's motivating. It shows that we can move forward. It shows that we can grow. And one thing that's really annoying me about this story is that I don't know if you paid much attention to the qualifiers. Yeah. I was watching games like Sudan versus Ghana. I saw Nigeria versus Sierra Leone. I saw, Algeria playing and all these different countries. Yeah. And the pitches were horrendous.
yeah.
What I really point out was Sierra Leone versus Nigeria in Sierra Leone. That pitch was disgusting,
horrendous. Yeah,
and this is genuinely not a joke. I'm not even here trying to be funny. The park across the road has better grass. Like that, you can see how the seriousness in my face. Like I'm genuinely, I was shocked. We're talking about. You got to understand that, the likes of Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, Ivory Coast are not necessarily going to suffer because they are top teams in Africa. They've won African Cup of Nations. They've gone to World Cups. They have all these kit deals and stuff. They're not necessarily suffering from funds. But the likes of Central Africa Republic, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, all these other countries, they're going to suffer because of guys like this. Guys like this don't know how to spend money wisely or, don't know how to hold money. We've heard it too much. It's not just presidents, it's not just the president of CAF. It's presidents of countries. It's politicians. They just holding money for no reason whilst people are suffering, and this is what stops the progression of Africa. How do you expect to convince, I don't know, a 20-year-old South Sudanese player that's just broke into the Premier League to come and represent South Sudan instead of England? How do you convince when everything is crap? The kits are crap. It's the honest truth, bro. You don't even get pictures from the games on Getty Images or anything like that. You can't see anything, but you can get pictures of England playing friendlies or Greece playing a friendly. But when it comes to Africa, you can just about get footage on YouTube. That's in 80p. Like, there's so much that needs to be improved. So when I'm hearing stories like this, bro, this guy deserves a 10-year ban, in my opinion. 10-year ban. Just don't hire him again. Because
I mean, I highly doubt he's going to be coming back. If I'm honest with you, 5 years is a long time to have without a president. So they're gonna they have to change him. I mean, if you're accepting gifts once, it's gonna happen again. So
there's so much things that even need to change, even from the smallest things, like the look of our African Cup of Nations trophy compared to other competitions. That trophy does not look good. It does not look quality. I'll be completely honest with you. There's so much things that need to change in the game of African football for it to progress. Do you see what I'm saying? Why is South Africa pretty much the only league in Africa that is decent? You know, their leagues, they got their team.
Yeah, they've got proper, you know what I mean? Facilities over there. Yeah,
I can't think of any other country whose top tier league is as good as that in Africa. Everything else is just corrupt. It's a mess.
There's always something. There's always something going on.
I mean, and it's not like these guys don't have the money. They have the money, so spend it. Let's grow. The crazy thing is, and what makes me more upset is the fact that if they invested the money and allowed it to grow, they'd make more money. They would end up making more money anyway. Africans love football. But when you don't give them a good enough platform, when fans can't even feel safe to go to stadiums, how do you expect money to pour in? You need to invest.
I think it's a state of obviously investing is true. A lot of the time, I think we even liken the same thing to Arsenal and their owners, and we talk about how if they want to make more money, why not just obviously you have to spend money to make money. That's the truth of it. If you want to make more money, you have to spend money in order to do it. And that's the truth in life, and that's the truth in general. But the thing is, you kind of look at it in a certain way, and you start to understand that they don't really want to, about in Africa. Unfortunately, the truth of it is, and not just in Africa, I think you find characters like this all over the world, really. But there's certain people that don't want to, have a project. They don't want to set a start goal and then see where you end up 5-10 years later. They want that money now. So if in 5-10 years they can have 2 million, let's say in 5-10 years they can have 2 million pounds, but then right now you can have 200,000 pounds. They'll take the 200,000 pounds right now because it's just greed. You're not really willing to watch the process. You're not really willing to graft and grind, because a lot of that comes with hard work. But it's like, why should I put the hard work in for a chance of me making money rather than and to be honest, I wouldn't call it a chance because it's the truth. I think anyone with any sense of vision can see that Africa as a continent is a football continent. A lot of the time, football is just a sport of the world, really. But Africa, there is no sport out there that people love more than the game of football. And it is so evident in every single country that you step foot in that football is literally the lifeblood of the country. Everyone in Africa loves football, and that's the truth. It's evident that if they were to sort of like extend themselves and have a project to actually make money, they probably would make so much more money. But it's just that mode of thinking, the way you operate, and your motive really. It's like a lot of them, they don't want to sit down and have a 5-10 year plan of where they could be in 5-10 years time. If money is the end goal, cool, but they'd rather if I can take a bribe or a gift, or take that 200,000 now and keep getting 200,000 every now and again, they'll just do it now because they want that money now. And it's greed. It's not they're not trying to do it for the continent of Africa. They're just in it for themselves, unfortunately. And that's what you find with characters like this. And unfortunately, this man, Ahmed, I always find it funny when someone's named twice, Ahmed. Yeah. But Ahmed is another one of those people who, he's just in it for themselves. He's in it for himself. He's in it to make money for himself and just, sort of like make a quick buck for him, and maybe for him and his family, who knows. But yeah, you can clearly tell that by accepting bribes and gifts, you're not giving it to anyone else. You're not sharing it out or anything. You're just in it to make money on your own. So unfortunately, that's the kind of characters that we faced with Africa today and why the game will never progress. You go forward and you look at even some of the officiating that goes down there, because it's not only people in high places that take money. You got referees taking bribes just before a game begins or the night before a game starts to flunk a game, or give more red cards in the game, give more penalties to the opposing side so they can score. So match fixing basically that we've seen everywhere, but it is so common in the place of Africa because everyone's in it just to make a quick buck and just make a bit of money for themselves, which is just really, really sad.
To be fair, all of one day much even stem from the government, because a lot of these people they don't have great jobs, they don't necessarily make as much income as they need to survive on a monthly basis. So they're going to result into all these things. They're going to want to do all these things, and that's why a lot of these people, once they get to the top, all they want to do is just be greedy, because it's like nobody helped me get to the top, nobody helped me, so I just want to keep all the money to myself. And it's sad. It's sad. It's stopping progression. Honestly, it's really stopping the progression. Hopefully, but to be fair, I have a little bit of confidence because it's good that companies like FIFA are acknowledging this, because he was the vice president of FIFA as well. So that the fact that FIFA have acknowledged this and got rid of him is good. It means that the next person's going to come in. If he wants to do the same kind of business, he's going to get dropped as well. You're going to get so it just shows a lot of games at FIFA, and it's good because I feel like we need that. I feel like a lot of the authorities in Africa feel like they have all the power, so it's kind of nice to see that someone above them is taking control. So hopefully the next person that comes in can obviously, I know it's going to be a long process. I'm not asking for it to be done overnight, but show progression. I like to see progression. I like to see things that are, that we're moving, and that's all I want.
Yeah. Agreed. But thank you so much for joining us, guys. Everyone that's been here with us. That's going to be the end of the stream today. Obviously we've talked about two of the main topics there today. It's great to see, and unfortunately that is the truth of the whole situation in Africa and African football at the moment, unfortunately. But going forward, as you said, progression, hopefully that's what we pray for. That's what we want, really. Progression is what we want to see in the game of football for Africa, and for Africa as a continent as well, because there's so much gold potential in that land, and it just gets snatched and taken away because of greed, unfortunately. And that's one such trait that we're seeing. But as we say all the time, and as we say every Sunday, actually, let me just talk about Sundays in general. That you should, join us for the Reveal podcast every Sunday, where we have some of football's most interesting conversations. And we come at you every Sunday on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook as well, from 8 p.m. every single Sunday. So if you have any topics that you would want us to talk about, or anything that you'd want to suggest, feel free to DM us or leave a comment. Even in terms of all the topics that we talked about today, leave a comment, because we'd love to know what you guys think of everything that we've said. And if you have anything to show or anything that you want to say for yourself as well, go ahead and do that. Also follow us on @RevealFooty on Twitter and on Instagram. We've always got news on African footballers from all over the world being posted on there, different goals, some stuff to do with FIFA as well. As you know, PS5 is well out already, and I've it's not here yet, but I've picked mine out of the air still, so it's being delivered soon. So I'm just waiting for it to. I'm just waiting for it to touch.
I'm waiting till January.
I'm waiting for it to touch, but in the hopes, looking at the order confirmation, it's looking like it's going to be here way before Christmas. So we wait for that. But once that gets up, obviously, as you guys may have seen, we've posted different goals on our Twitter page, especially as well, of different goals that we scored on FIFA. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. If we don't come at you live again, we'll see everybody on Sunday. But make sure you keep supporting, keep following us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.